Versatile Mage. Chapter 391. The Ambitious Councilman. Mo Fan mimicked the way Tang Yu would sit on the black totem snake's head. The friendly exchange with the black totem snake after feeding him the illegally recycled cooking oil had eased Mo Fan's fear of him. Frankly speaking, apart from his gigantic size, the big guy was fairly kind and gentle at heart. Mo Fan took a closer look at the black totem snake's body and realized that the festered skin had begun to peel off. Even the wounds that seemed rather deep were falling off. What's going on? Even the wounds can be peeled off like scars. Mo Fan was astounded. He took a stroll along the black totem snake's body for another half an hour and realized that a lot of the wounds had begun to peel off. When Mo Fan returned to the black totem snake's head, he took a glance at the snake's body and suddenly discovered that something was splitting apart on the beast's body, as if he were forming a clone. Mo Fan, what are you doing? An adorable little loli yelled at Mo Fan. Mo Fan turned around and realized it was Lingling. He asked curiously, "Aren't you helping Wang Xiaojun with his mission?" "Why are you here?" Lingling held her tiny laptop in her hands. She responded with her eyes fixed on the screen. "I can monitor him from here, too. The snake is splitting in half. I'm rather curious. Could it be that the force of the lightning has blasted him in half?" Lingling was rather daring. She simply leapt onto the black totem snake and climbed up with her small limbs, like an overly cute monkey. As she finally reached Mo Fan's spot, she glanced down at the black totem snake's body from above and said, "What do you mean he's splitting in half? Can't you tell his skin peeling off?" Mo Fan took a closer look and came to a realization. He said with a smile, "The big snake is finally finishing up with his ecdysis after the series of troubles. It shouldn't be any trouble from here onward. Tang Yu must be very happy. Yeah, if Wang Xiaojun manages to make it back safely, the crisis will be resolved too," said Lingling as she continued her work on the laptop. "I hope so." Lingling placed the laptop on her legs and suddenly asked in confusion, Why isn't he moving?" "Who's not moving?" "Wang Xiaojun. It shows that he has stopped all of a sudden. He's still on the ground. There aren't any powerful beasts nearby. He should be flying to West Fortress now." Lingling was suspicious. "Did he stumble upon some kind of trouble?" said Mo Fan with a worried look. Mo Fan was fairly impressed by Wang Xiaojun's courage. It was incredibly rare to find someone willing to risk their lives for the greater good, not to mention that he was only 17 years old. In the forest to the west of the fortress, Wang Xiaojun flattened himself to the eagle's back while glancing ahead alertly. Above him, the sky was densely filled with the white wings of the white magic falcons. They were like a giant net spreading across the night sky. Every time he glanced up, he could see the white magic falcon's sharp claws and enormous wings, and felt his scalp turning numb. The white magic falcons were diving at their enemies relentlessly. Wang Xiaojun had never experienced a war, nor had he seen so many demon beasts at once. He was using the gray eagle as his cover and was scared that his presence would be exposed to the terrifying demon beasts. Ironically, the being blocking his path was not the white magic falcons, but the middle-aged man with a goatee. "Wang Xiaojun, isn't it? I'm Councilman Luo Mian. You've done a great job. Now, hand over the red falcon herbs. I'll bring 'em to the quarantine zone at once to save the people." Wang Xiaojun stared at the uninvited guest in front of him. He clearly knew that the person was Councilman Luo Mian, a famous public figure in Hangzhou. However, Wang Xiaojun did not trust him. He had learned the truth from Mo Fan and Lingling. He knew that the councilman was the cause of the plague. He had no idea why the councilman would be here, but he could not afford to hand over the extremely important red falcon herbs to someone like him. "I will bring 'em to the general myself. If Councilman Luo Mian needs the red falcon herbs urgently, please escort me there." Councilman Luo Mian wore a smile. He glanced at Wang Xiaojun and said, "You're asking me, a councilman, to escort a kid like you, who doesn't even have a military rank?" "What do you want, then?" said Wang Xiaojun. "If you're smart enough, you will hand over the bracelet now. Councilman Luo Mian's smile gradually turned icy, with a hint of disdain toward the kid. Normally, Councilman Luo Mian could easily send one of his men to take the herbs from Wang Xiaojun, but considering that the white magic falcons had occupied the sky, not everyone could sneak out towards Wang Xiaojun without anyone noticing. Councilman Luo Mian was a shadow element super-level magician. No one in Hangzhou and West Fortress could possibly move freely through a battlefield where both the sky and the ground were currently in the midst of an epic battle. Although Luo Mian was rather surprised that such an insignificant kid had found the cure to the plague, he figured he should be the one who rescued Hangzhou from its grave situation, instead of a kid. Even though he already had a scapegoat for the incident, Zhu Meng no longer believed him, so it would be difficult to retain his status as a councilman. However, if he could get his hands on the red falcon herbs, he would be the savior of the entire city. Not only would Zhu Meng and the others not dare to accuse him, he could possibly even improve his status further. Anyone smart enough would be willing to try desperate solutions in desperate situations. This time, the risk only involved dealing with a kid. It could not be any simpler. What is it? Councilman Luo Mian smirked as he observed Wang Xiaojun and the young Grey Eagle. Are you thinking of going against me? Are you planning to snatch it away? Replied Wang Xiaojun furiously. He never thought a councilman would do something like this. Listen to me, give me the thing, and I'll spare your life. I can guarantee you a bright future. Otherwise, you will totally disappear from the world. Trust me, no one will care about your insignificant death. Councilman Luo Mian's tone was incredibly chilly. His figure was covered in a layer of darkness and death. The councilman who had always worn a gentle smile in front of the public had turned into a greedy, merciless vampire. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 392. He's not worthy to be called a human. A dark, icy aura surged toward Wang Xiaojun and the Grey Eagle. The beast was knocked a few steps back, while Wang Xiaojun could feel his body trembling subconsciously. Councilman Luo Mian was extremely powerful. His sharp gaze was penetrating their souls like two long swords. I'll say it one last time. Hand it over, demanded Councilman Luo Mian in a firm voice. Wang Xiaojun clenched the storage bracelet tightly. He had no intention of handing it over. I forgot to mention, my secondary element is the curse element. I'm sure that you've never tasted it before. You must be grateful, as I haven't used it to kill anyone after becoming a councilman. Those who died to my curse element were a lot stronger than you. Councilman Luo Mian slowly waved his hand in Wang Xiaojun's direction. It was like his hand was trying to hide something. It was a crimson force with a hint of an evil presence. A spirit in the shape of a giant spider appeared right above Wang Xiaojun and the Grey Eagle, floating weirdly in the air. Its legs were connected to the same crimson strings wrapped around Councilman Luo Mian's palm. The silks surrounded Wang Xiaojun and the Grey Eagle out of nowhere, and began to draw in. A brief moment later, a huge crimson spiderweb became visible, like a trap that had just been set up, or had been awaiting its prey all along. The eerie spider started reeling in the silks, tightening the grip of the silks on Wang Xiaojun. Humans were the most vulnerable to the curse element. The silks not only rooted their target in place, they were like straws that would suck out a human's spiritual energy. They were drawing Wang Xiaojun's soul out at a crazy pace. How does it feel? I'm rather old, so I prefer not to commit any sinful acts. Give me the thing, and I'll immediately free you from the pain, said Councilman Luo Mian. Wang Xiaojun struggled wildly. His face had already turned purple from the great pain. He tried to say something, but his throat was clenched tightly by the red silks. Councilman Luo Mian stared at his prey. The kid seemed to be begging for mercy, but he responded with a grin. He clenched his hand into a claw, like the deadly legs of the evil spider that was going to kill its prey. Wang Xiaojun's body suddenly stiffened. His soul was already sucked dry. His face no longer had the color of blood. His stiffened body suddenly turned weak and feeble. His eyeballs rolled upward, as if he had been suffocated to death. Apart from terror and pain, His gaze was mostly filled with disbelief. How foolish. Councilman Luo Mian slowly approached Wang Xiaojun's body and snatched the bracelet from his arm. He did not cast another glance at Wang Xiaojun, whose soul had been sucked dry. He would not have bothered wasting his time on a nobody like him if he had not found the cure to the plague. He had acquired what he needed to guarantee his success. He had to make his way to the quarantine zone in the city as soon as possible. With the antidote, he could easily negotiate with the authorities of Hangzhou City. With his shadow element, Councilman Luo Mian wove through the battlefield filled with countless white magic falcons and made his way back to the city with ease, leaving the corpse of a young man and a grey eagle screeching painfully behind. Hangzhou's Westlake. Idiot. That idiot. Lingerling screamed on top of the black totem snake's head. Her face was filled with hatred and anger. She had heard everything that had taken place in the woods through a special communication device. She cursed wildly, not at the vicious Councilman Luo Mian, but at the young man Wang Xiaojun. Why would he resist? Why? He was only a basic magician. Why would he bother opposing a fallen councilman? Why didn't he hand the stuff over? At least he would still be alive. While cursing, Lingerling's eyes were already bloodshot. Although she felt like scolding Wang Xiaojun for being stupid, he was actually very smart. He had managed to turn on the special communication device when Councilman Luo Mian decided to kill him. Councilman Lingerling would never expect that his violent and vicious act had been recorded and was sent to Lingerling and Mo Fan. The sinister spider trap. That's a spell that will devour one's soul. Mo Fan had a blank face. Mo Fan was extremely familiar with the sinister spider trap. The criminal he and Tang Yu hunted down in the past had the terrifying curse element, too. He had turned the 4 magicians from the Dongfang clan into empty shells without souls with the same spell. Wang Xiaojun had suffered the same fate. His cultivation was significantly weaker than the 4 magicians. There was no way he stood a chance against the intermediate curse magic. This Luo Mian was extremely cruel, to use such an evil spell on a youngster. Lingerling, don't panic, maybe Mo Fan still had a glimpse of hope. Do you think I'm a kid? Do you think I've no idea what the curse element is? Lingerling screamed furiously. That councilman, he's not worthy to be called a human. Mo Fan's heart sank. Luo Mian was the main culprit of the plague. He initially thought that there was a certain limit to how bad an evil-hearted councilman would be, but he never thought the councilman would murder Wang Xiaojun. How cruel, shameless, evil, and cold-hearted did a person need to be to do such a thing? He had started the plague, which had placed Hangzhou in such great danger. Instead of having regret, he had forced his man to be the scapegoat just so he could stay out of trouble, and even killed the person who had risked his own life to save the lives of the infected. How could he possibly kill a young man who had such a kind, pure heart? Mo Fan had thought Lu Nian was the craziest murderer he would ever know in the world, yet he had met someone who was crueler and more abhorrent than that Lu Nian, not to mention that he was a councilman of the Enforcement Union. He recalled how Wang Xiaojun had barged into the meeting room, his gaze determined despite the risk he would be facing. His thoughts were filled with Luo Mian's hypocritical behavior, and the disdainful laugh after he had snatched away the antidote which Wang Xiaojun had retrieved by putting his life at risk. Mo Fan immediately sensed a tremendous fury exploding within his chest. This Luo Mian, even him dying 10,000 times is not enough to repay his sin. One after another, cries were heard from the communication device. It was the Grey Eagle's voice, filled with great sorrow. Mo Fan and Lingerling could no longer hold back the tears of sorrow after hearing them. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 393. Silver Skyroller. The sky above West Fortress looked like a giant white net, the dense strings covering the space above the human defenders. Sharp claws collided with destructive spells in the sky, with sharp screeches and blasts echoing everywhere. The area within 10 kilometers around the fortress had turned into a battlefield. The human defenders were completely outnumbered by the white magic falcons. Even with every soldier of West Fortress joining the battle, They could at most form square bricks on the ground, and could only attack the white magic falcons that were flying relatively low from there. The battle was split into different levels. At the ground level, the basic and intermediate magicians were trying their best to distract the army of white magic falcons, so the birds would take the initiative to dive down and attack them. They had managed to kill quite a number of the white magic falcons with that strategy. The space above the fortress was the main area of the battle, where the advanced magicians who were capable of flying were fighting against the army of white magic falcons. Each advanced spell was capable of killing hundreds of servant-class demon beasts instantly with the destructive power. Even though the advanced magicians were significantly outnumbered, there was no sign of them losing the battle. As for the higher level among the clouds, that was where the real experts of the humans were battling against the four-clawed magic eagles. Be it the commander-level four-clawed magic eagles, or the royal guard, commanders, or judges of the magic court from the human side, every death would result in a great impact to the tide of the battle. There were around 10 four-clawed magic eagles in total. Their size was comparable to the clouds nearby. Their four claws were strong enough to shatter a whole mountain. Any one of them was enough to pose a great threat to a small city, let alone 10. 10 four-clawed magic eagles floated above the clouds, like 10 pieces of clouds that had separated themselves from the sea of clouds below. Their icy gazes were staring at the tiny humans who were also floating in the sky. The servant class and warrior level white magic falcons had no chance of reaching this height, as the strong gusts and cold temperature were unbearable to them. The four-clawed magic eagles did not fight against their enemies separately. They were maintaining a triangular formation, covering a huge space. At an even greater height, right at the center of the formation, a gigantic falcon with silver-colored feathers hovered at the center of the commander-level demon beasts. The feathers of this gigantic falcon were different from the rest of the white magic falcons. Its perfect silver feathers thoroughly displayed its nobility. The flickers on the surfaces of its feathers served as a clear indication that the feathers were sharper than a steel blade. The gigantic falcon's head was the size of a room. The tufts on its head were standing upright, like a silver crown spreading in a fan. Its proud eyes were inspecting the humans who were trying to stop it with great interest. It was utterly superior, not showing any concern that it was flying in human territory. The 10 four-clawed magic eagles that were escorting it could easily clear all the obstacles along the way, let alone the few tens of thousands lesser falcons below. Is that the silver spiraler? Exclaimed Elder Li Tian in astonishment. What else could possibly be escorted by 10 commander-level four-clawed magic eagles? Replied Tang Jung with a stern look. Silver spiraler. It had always been the dominator of the sky at West Ridge. The white magic falcons that were the civilians of its kingdom alone were enough to form a giant cloud that could shroud the sun. West Fortress was not solely established to defend against the white magic falcons residing at West Ridge. The truth was, the white magic falcons had not attacked the humans for a very long time, thus the humans did not put too much attention on them. They had no idea that they had grown to such a terrifying scale, or that the strongest silver spiraler even had 10 commander-level demon beasts as its escorts. A commander-level demon beast was strong enough to be considered a boss by humans. Exactly how powerful was the silver spiraler, to freely command them? We'll have to deal with the 10 escorts before focusing on the silver spiraler. Councilman Zhu Meng's voice entered the ears of the magicians. I'm afraid we won't have much energy left to stop the silver spiraler. Frankly speaking, even all of us together could at most delay its advance, said General Yun Feng. We are left with no choice, let's kill a few of them. Otherwise, they will assume that they can come and go as they wish. A ferocious aura blossomed from Councilman Zhu Meng as he took off the noble robe he was wearing. Upon finishing his speech, the councilman had already charged toward the 10 four-clawed magic eagle, leaving a red trail of flame behind from his burning wings. The head of the royal guards, Wu Pingjing, immediately chased after the councilman with his 3 pairs of wind wings. Zhu Meng's strength is remarkable, exclaimed Li Tian. The royal guards were generally stronger than the people of the enforcement union. As the head of the royal guards, Wu Pingjing was already considered one of the strongest magicians, yet he still had trouble catching up to Councilman Zhu Meng. Even the auras of his elements were slightly weaker than those of Councilman Zhu Meng's, which was rather unbelievable. Let's target the escorts. We'll deal with the silver spiraler later, said Tang Jung. He immediately joined the battle. The battle between the experts was taking place high up in the sky. As for the space close to the ground, it was a bloodbath between the servant-class white magic falcons and the troops of human magicians. A fair distance away from the messy battlefield stood a blue forest. Among the trees there, a grey eagle which was slightly different from the rest of the white demon beasts was circulating in the sky above a rather spacious area. It was uttering furious screeches. Its cries resembled the sound of a flute, capable of traveling a far distance. However, the sound was fairly sharp, with a hint of sorrow. It was obvious that the grey eagle was a crossbreed. It was easily distinguished from the white magic falcons. Meanwhile, a group of white magic falcons was circling nearby, too. They seemed to have discovered a delicacy. Their eyes were fixed on the ground. The same sharp cry echoed in the woods, but the white magic falcons completely ignored it. One that was particularly hungry withdrew its wings and dived toward the corpse of a young man on the ground. The grey eagle uttered a furious cry. It used its body and slammed into the white magic falcon that was diving from the sky. It crashed into the ground and slid a great distance across the fallen leaves. The rest of the white magic falcons screeched when they saw the crossbreed protecting a human. The grey eagle stabilized itself and slowly landed before the motionless young man. It spread out its grey wings that were not fully grown yet to protect the youngster. It raised its head and stared at the white magic falcons in anger and firm determination. Its gaze was rather similar to that of its young master. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 394. Red Heavenly Eagle. Leng King slowly walked into an empty room among the soldier bunkers. Most of the battle mages had joined the war, thus there were not many people left in the camp. Leng King headed to Wang Xiaojun's room. It was a little storage room, but it was very tidy. The only mess was some grey feathers lying around the place. Captain, Wang Xiaojun did not have a military rank, thus we couldn't arrange a proper bunker for him. His brother was a Heavenly Eagle battle mage. After he went missing, I arranged for him to stay here to look after him. I appointed him as an apprentice of the Beastmasters. Did the kid cause any trouble? Zhu Li, whose face was filled with freckles, asked cautiously. Leng King walked into the room on her heels and picked up a picture frame on the table. On the picture, a young battle mage was pressing his hand down on Wang Xiaojun's head, who seemed to be around 12 or 13. The young man had a charming smile, while Wang Xiaojun seemed quite reluctant. It was most likely that he believed the curse of being unable to grow taller if his head were pressed down too much. Behind them stood a snowy white heavenly eagle. It was huge, magnificent, with a proud bearing. Meanwhile, Wang Xiaojun was holding a grey egg in his hands very carefully. It was obvious that he was extremely fond of it, the way he was handling it carefully. The kid treated the crossbreed heavenly eagle preciously and looked after it until this very day. After all, it was something that his brother had gifted him before he went missing. Normally, we wouldn't allow a grey heavenly eagle here, but since he had lost his only family member, we just let it be. He's still young, after all. He always said how he would become the strongest heavenly eagle battle mage one day. I knew he had disobeyed a military order, but it wasn't serious enough to bring you, a vice elder of the magic court here. If you were thinking of punishing him, please go easy on him, considering he's still young. Beastmaster Zhu Li had no clue what had happened. He pleaded sincerely. As a matter of fact, Zhu Li and Wang Xiaojun's brother were not close. Although he was extremely strict and impatient with Wang Xiaojun all the time, he actually felt sorry for the kid. He did not want the kid to be expelled since he would soon become an official battle mage when he reached 18. Pack his stuff up and hand them to me. On top of that, ask your commander Ming Kuo to commemorate him as a battle mage. He would understand, Leng King said to the Beastmaster with freckles as he placed the picture frame back onto the desk. Heavenly Eagle battle mage. Did you say you're giving him a military rank? Zhu Li stared at Leng King in bewilderment. However, Zhu Li soon realized something. His face turned pale as his voice stiffened with disbelief. What did you say? Commemorate. Granting a title and commemorating were two different things. Granting was when the person was given the title, while commemorating was when the person could no longer accept the title in person, because he was dead. Zhu Li was not highly ranked in the army. He had no clue what had happened in the meeting room. When someone like Leng King appeared, he thought the kid had caused great trouble instead. I'm sorry, we didn't manage to protect him, said Leng King to Zhu Li remorsefully. Zhu Li stood there with a blank face. He could not accept the truth. Just a year more, and he would have become an official battle mage. No one would know better how much the kid wanted to become an official soldier than him. Zhu Li clearly knew that he wanted to become a Heavenly Eagle battle mage, following in his brother's footsteps. Even when the Heavenly Eagle he raised had gray feathers, his determination had never swayed. Zhu Li felt like suffocating. He wanted to know what exactly happened. Zhu Li, Beastmaster Zhu Li, Beastmaster Zhu Li. A yell suddenly came from outside of the bunker. The voice repeated for quite some time until Zhu Li collected his thoughts. I'm here, responded Zhu Li softly. There's a red Heavenly Eagle flying toward your guard post. Someone recognized it as the one that you were looking after. We're not sure if we should kill it on the spot. Come and take a look quick, yelled the man. Zhu Li was confused. He never recalled raising a red Heavenly Eagle. Let's check it out, said Leng King. The two quickly left Wang Xiaojun's room and went straight to the guard post. The place was crowded with workers and a few soldiers. They were hesitating if they should consider the beast as hostile. As soon as Leng King and Zhu Li reached the place, they saw a red Heavenly Eagle flying toward them awkwardly. The beast seemed to be suffering. It felt like it would slam into the ground at times, but it managed to flap its wings and recollect itself. Finally, the eagle was less than 50 meters away from the guard post. Zhu Li's eyes widened. They were full of astonishment. It was true that he could not recall raising any red Heavenly Eagle, as the red covering the beast was actually blood. It was not a red Heavenly Eagle, but a gray one. Its body was soaked in blood, including its head, its wings, its body, its claws. Not a single body part was free from deep wounds and bruises, not a spot was clear of blood. Zhu Li had been in the army for more than 10 years. He had seen too many deaths, thus his tears had long dried. However, when he saw the gray eagle stumbling to land on the platform, when he saw a lifeless young man lying on its back, tears began to burst out from his eyes. Leng King was stunned, too. The gray eagle, it had managed to carry Wang Xiaojun back. Despite the distance, it had managed to weave through the bloodbath of the battlefield and brought its young master back, unharmed. Its fresh blood had already dried up. The crossbreed Heavenly Eagle did not rise again after it landed. It fell to the ground before the crowd. Its half-broken neck turned toward Wang Xiaojun's body. Its eyes had a blank expression. It was dead. Leng King had seen many Heavenly Eagles with noble lineage. They had incredible strength and pure white feathers. However, she would only remember the crossbreed, gray-feathered Heavenly Eagle from now on. Like master, like beast. She could only pay her utter respect with silent tears. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 395. Wrath of the Totem Beast, Part 1. West Lake, the Sioux Causeway. The breeze swept past. It sounded like someone weeping. Mo Fan and Ling had listened to the entire process, including the cries that the Grey Eagle had uttered when it was trying desperately to protect Wang Xiaojun. Finally, the Grey Eagle managed to carry the youngster back to West Fortress, but their hearts were not calmed yet. The black totem snake had fully awakened under Mo Fan and Ling care. As the two were immersed in the great sorrow after losing Wang Xiaojun, The wounds covering the gigantic snake's body had totally disappeared, replaced by a new layer of flickering black scales. His skin seemed brand new. The old skin with wounds lay nearby, soaking in the water. Even though the black totem snake was a lot smaller, he no longer looked tired and weak after the ecdysis. As the ecdysis was finishing, he had also listened to the series of events together with Mo Fan and Ling. He let out a cry, as if he was trying to wake up the two humans who were carried away by sorrow. Mo Fan collected his thoughts and realized that the black totem snake had a new look. The glowing black scales were highlighting the authority of an ancient totem beast. His gigantic figure represented his domineering status. The black totem snake reached out his tongue with a deep hiss. His eyes were staring into the sky in the west, as if he could sense his enemies in that direction. That's right, the black totem snake was framed by Councilman Luo Mian. He almost became the scapegoat for the plague. "Do you want to take your revenge?" asked Mo Fan as he sensed the black totem snake's fury. The black totem snake could understand human language. He slowly rose from the lake, to a height that was able to look down at the whole lake. The black totem snake opened his mouth and uttered a raging cry, similar to the cry of a true ruler who had survived a grave situation. He was declaring to the enemies that had tried to kill him that their nightmare had just begun. The black totem snake unleashed a domineering aura. Following his roar, strong waves rolled across the lake toward the shores. "Are you done with the ecdysis?" Mo Fan asked in a surprised tone above the black totem snake's head. Before this, Mo Fan was still slightly terrified of the snake boss. However, when he sensed a wave of similar anger from the snake, he believed that they had the same goal in mind. Councilman Luo Mian was extremely powerful, and he was holding the last straw of the city in his hands. If he managed to reach the quarantine zone with the red falcon herbs, his status would skyrocket, and it would be even harder to serve justice for the sake of Wang Xiaojun and the Grey Eagle. Mo Fan and Ling felt like dissecting Councilman Luo Mian right now, and the black totem snake was somehow done with his ecdysis at the perfect time. "Are you trying to say that you'll listen to me?" Mo Fan could sense a unique voice from the black totem snake in his soul. He pointed his finger at himself with wide eyes. The black totem snake responded firmly. The snake boss was clearly aware that Mo Fan had helped him at his weakest state. Therefore, he was willing to transform himself into the flames of wrath burning in Mo Fan's heart. He would burn the plague, the conspiracy, and the culprit responsible for the tragedy into ashes. "All right, let's go and kill that son of a bitch," yelled Mo Fan wildly. A councilman, he had abused his overwhelming power and strength to carry out such a vicious conspiracy. But now, the black totem snake was done with the ecdysis. The Dominator had returned. No one would be able to save the asshole's life. "Ling, tell me the location," said Mo Fan to Ling beside him. "He's currently in the small valley between West Fortress and the quarantine zone." "He has almost reached the city," said Ling. Ling had specifically marked the space bracelet. She could easily determine where Councilman Luo Mian was at. He was trying to sneak into the city after committing such an unforgivable sin. He had hunted down Wang Xiaojun on his return, and now it was his turn to experience the same fate. "All right, big guy, let's move out." Mo Fan, standing on the black totem snake, yelled and pointed to the west. The black totem snake was fully covered in black scales, which looked like armor plates. He sprang out from the lake into the sky, like a night dragon soaring into the clouds. Other flying beasts would slowly increase their altitude after flapping their wings wildly, but the black totem snake had risen into the clouds directly. Upon reaching the layer of clouds, a waterfall flowing in the reverse direction in the sky appeared on West Lake. The residents nearby stared at the spectacular sight in disbelief. The black totem snake's figure was soon shrouded by a colorful mist as he flew into the sky. Not only was the mist concealing his gigantic body, it was also dragging him toward Hangzhou City. It was the beast's ability to ride the mist among the clouds. They quickly swept past the sky above the skyscrapers in the well-developed city. Both Mo Fan and Lingerling were sitting on top of the black totem snake's head. Their hearts beat rapidly, as they had never had a flying experience like this before. The speed of a ruler-level beast was incredibly fast. They gradually left the stunning city behind, slowly turning into a nighttime scene. Further ahead, the dull sky was filled with many white figures. It was the army of white magic falcons. After a lengthy battle, the army of the white magic falcons was finally on the verge of breaking through the boundary of the safe zone and infiltrating the human territory. They were very close to the city. The black totem snake totally ignored the white magic falcons. His cold eyes were looking down at the valley. Just like Mo Fan, he was searching for Councilman Luo Mian. He's right under us, but he seems to be meeting up with some people. Quite a number of them, Lingerling blurted out when she saw the information from her tiny laptop. They have outnumbered us, we should. Before Mo Fan could finish, the black totem snake withdrew the mist and dived right at the spacious land with his body coiled up. Outnumbered, he was a totem beast. A ruler-level black snake tall enough to touch the sky. The black totem snake considered few things in the entire world to be his worthy opponent, let alone a mere city councilman. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.